So one thing we want you to do is start doing the research, and that's why we want the references. So you should already be trying to find references for your topic, and I showed you how to put them in APA using Google Scholar, and it should come close. It might not be perfect, but um, and then and this doesn't mean, like, when you hand these in next week, it doesn't mean that these are the only references you can use. It doesn't even mean you have to use these references. We just want you to start accumulating some research. We want to know that you've actually been using the library, looking up topics and treatments and, some stats and things like that on your topic. So it's really just to get the ball rolling early. You can delete some of these if you don't want to use them later. You can add to them as you find more throughout the semester. But, you know, and then the reason for the article review is we just want you to start reading the articles, and I want to make sure that I can help you glean the information that you need from these articles. So we're going to go over uh, exactly what you need for an article review, but it looks like um, basically uh, after week 4, you're doing some assigned readings for quite a few weeks. And just because you might have a month of assigned readings, you should be writing during that time. It's going to take a long time to write your lit review. This is not an undergrad paper where you can just wait and write it the week before, or the day before, or the night before. So that's why we don't have any assignments for like 4 weeks. It's because you need to be writing. Um, so I think that, and then, you know, on week 9, your lit review rough draft is due. And we're going to go over the next few weeks exactly what goes into that paper. And I have an outline that I already uploaded, and you can be reading some of the things that I've uploaded to give you an idea. So we'll go over some of those readings again, but um, let's look at the in the instructions for the article review, and I'll read them to you, and we'll talk about each one. So let's see. These syllabi are getting so long. It's crazy. Okay. So these instructions are in your syllabus in case you want to reference them, but journal article critique instructions. You'll complete a quantitative article critique. So we're going to go over when there's a chapter just on quantitative statistics, there's a chapter just on qualitative, and there's a chapter on mixed in the book. So we're going to go into great detail into those different types of stats. But just so you can pick the right article, Quantitative stats are ones that if they didn't actually do a study, they did surveys or self-report surveys, or they did some type of testing, like uh, uh, basically a test or survey before they treated a client, and then a test or survey after they treated a client to see if there was any improvement. So there's going to be statistical results. A qualitative, which we're not doing for this assignment, is more like extensive and in-depth interviews with individuals to get a deeper picture of something. So we're not doing that. Now, so let's talk about choosing the right article to use. You might as well choose the best article that you can find, because if you're going to start writing, why not use this for your paper? Why not use this for your lit review? So I would pick a journal article that you think would be good to cite in your paper. So, yeah, I mean, don't waste your time with this. Don't pick one you don't like. I would pick one you really like and that found some good results, so that, if you're typing a few pages here, you might be able to cut and paste half of it into your lit review. So, everything we do should build upon the previous thing. Everything builds on each other. We're not going to write like an article review that you're not going to use for your final paper. That's kind of like a waste of time in my view. So everything we do, I want you to be able to use for your final project. So, once you find an article that has some positive results and you think, wow, I'd like to include some of this in the model that I create, and I'll include this in my lit review, some of their findings. So something that you can use. Once you find that, we're going to start creating your paper. So for this, you can have an APA title page. So I'm going to give you the choice. Well, actually, I can't. This is the assignment you're going to upload to Tavera at the end of class. It's not your final paper, it's this. Because every grad class and research, they do this exact assignment. Everybody does the same assignment. So I think this is the KPI that you're going to upload in Tavera. So everybody's going to do the same thing, I guess. So we're going to follow these instructions so I don't look like a rebel. And include APA title page. You might want to include other references, but you don't have to. The article that you're critiquing can be your only reference for this paper. But you're going to have a title page, you're going to have a reference page. The reference page is going to be this article, whatever you critique. So it's pretty straightforward, just one article. It does give you some chapters, and once again, you might have any edition of this book that's out. I'm currently I have 3 editions of it, but I like edition 2. So the chapter numbers might be off, but the titles of the chapter are the same. So look for the title of the chapter in whatever edition you have. And I go over every single chapter in the book in this class in the lectures. So, you're not reading these on your own. she lists them. Dr. Locke, who created this syllabus, she lists some chapters, but you know, you can look at them, but we are going to go over them later. These are some things you might want to include in your review. Now, because you're reviewing or critiquing this article so early in the semester, I'm not going to get to all these chapters by next week when this is due. So that's okay. You know, every every peer-reviewed journal that does some kind of study is going to list these by these terms. So does it have a statement of purpose or a hypothesis? It'll list that. It'll name it. Does it have, what's the sampling method? It'll name that. Because there are specific chapters, as you can see, like 11 is sampling methods. We're going to spend like an hour on that. So don't worry, it will list these terms throughout your journal article. So you're not going to have to figure it out yourself. It's going to refer to sampling method used was, this is how we did it, and you can just quote that basically, or put it in your own words and cite it. The instruments are basically what kind of tests or surveys did they use to measure the results? How did they go about running the study? Did they have like clients take a survey as to their well-being or levels of anxiety or depression before they tried a therapy? And then after they applied the therapy, did they retest? So that's called test, retest, and to see if there was any improvement. That's pretty much the most common way to do it, but there's other ways too. So if they were studying anxiety, did they use Beck's anxiety inventory? Did they use Beck's depression inventory? What did they use to measure the results? And how did they go about doing it? And then what was the results? And I would personally pick something that, they're using a treatment that you like, that you think you'd like to include in the way you want to treat clients in this population. And so you might want to find an article that found some good results, some positive change took place in those clients. So that's just, some of my recommendations for this. And so as we go through this rubric, so you want to use APA format for everything in the paper. So if you're citing something, you want to make sure that's APA. You want to make sure that, you use an accurate description of how did they design the study? What was their method as they went through it? Things like that. You want to have your own critique of it. So were the results strong results? What were the weaknesses? Were there limitations? What could you improve? Maybe they didn't have a lot of people in the study. You think having more people in the study would be better, what do you think the implications of the article were? Like, do you think this would be something you'd like to use as a therapist or include in your comprehensive model? Do you think it'll really help a certain type of population? What do you think the quality of writing or the quality of the study was and why? And you should have a graduate level writing. So that's it. Uh, let's see. Doesn't look like gives a number of pages for this. So, I would say you're going to number the title page. So that's page 1. And I would say probably at least 2 pages. And then number 4 would be references, but 2 full pages minimum. And it's got to be like in APA style. You can't do like 1.25 spacing, or you can't do extras or 2.25. It's double spaced, so you can't go beyond double space. You can't have big margins, can't have a big font. Use Times New Roman 12 pitch. None of that stuff that undergrads sometimes do to meet the length. So 2 content pages minimum. Like these could usually be a little more than that, you know. So they can be as long as you want. You can write as much as you want, but it's got to be 2 complete pages with correct margins and spacing and regular font and font size and all of that. Check the grammar. This is not an English class. If grammar, punctuation, spelling is not correct, I'll just say, please correct that, hand it back in. Most professors would just mark it wrong and give you less points. I'll have you correct it and give it back. But even though I could be an English professor, I don't want to be. So, I'd rather help you with the content. That's what I want to focus on. I want to make sure that you understand the article that you're writing about. And, I want to teach you about each section and everything like that. So, I will say that I do understand that we have not covered these chapters yet, but we just want to get you started on this. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to address all the areas in the rubric. If you address all these areas and write a paragraph on each one, you'll have 2 pages, no problem. It's only 2 pages. All right. So, and that's due next week. And you won't have anything due for a long time after that. Problem is, people think, oh, I don't have anything to do this week. There's no assignment due in the syllabus. But in reality, you should be working on your lit review because it's like 12 content pages. You have to have so many articles and citations and everything else. So it's something that's going to take 3 or 4 weeks to write well. It's not something you can do the week before. And if you have a partner, I can't tell, oh, one partner wrote this and then the other partner wrote this, and it doesn't flow. So you actually have to work with your partner if you have one, because the writing has to flow from paragraph to paragraph. You can't just combine them and not rewrite it together combined. So, okay. So questions about the article critique that is due next week. Any questions? Nothing. All right. Well, hey, it's only 2 pages. Um, all right. So one of the things I uploaded in week one, along with the syllabus and everything else, is a student paper for this class. And it was by a student named Kayla Benzio. And it was written really well with a nice idea. And we submitted it to the PCA state conference, got accepted. And then she came out with this handout for the conference that outlines her comprehensive treatment model. So you can begin reading her paper and using it as a sample. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what this title page should look like. Oh, I wonder what the abstract, I wonder what this section is like. There's a sample for you. You know, it's pretty much what we're looking for this course. Um, what does what does a model look like? Well, it pretty much looks like this handout. And the only thing she didn't do, she wanted to outline what happened each week of therapy. So she made a table, what happens each week. Um, you will also include a graphical representation of your model. Uh, so some people do like a flow chart, some people do like something creative, like a tree. We start at the roots and we apply different aspects of the theories, and eventually, we grow into a healthy tree or a healthy individual as we move through a treatment model. So you can be creative. It could be anything you want, but there should be a graphical representation of the comprehensive model that you're going to develop. And that comes much later in the semester near the end, because you present your model at the very end of class after the lit review. Um, Make sure to watch Dr. Sittler's Counselor Education Research Help video. He can help you. Once again, you can type questions in there. He'll Zoom with you. He'll type answers. He'll give you links to library. He'll do all kinds of stuff. Like I said, I scheduled 2 office hours after this class. In case anybody needs help from me, I'll be available after class for 2 hours until 9 p.m. every single Thursday. So even if the class ends a little early, I'll still be here till 9. And you all can just, even if you're watching this as a recorded lecture, you can Zoom in and talk to me. Maybe you don't get home from work until 7, 8 o'clock. That's okay. So I think the only issue might be if somebody else is already talking with me, you might have to wait. That's all. Okay, make sure you get your plagiarism certificate uploaded to that Dropbox, the plagiarism unit Dropbox. Um, I'm going to open these now. So there is a Dropbox for references. I'm going to open that now so I don't forget. Move this lecture. Oh, that might be a good lecture to watch. I'll see. All right, and then there's the article critique assignment and Dropbox. If possible, please also upload the article that you used. You could upload it in like a PDF that you download from the library or something. In case I have a question, I can look at your article. Or a link to it. You know, if it's online and you can give me a link to it. So you could either upload the article or a link to the article. But if I have a question about what you wrote, I might just look at the article and help you formulate that thought, whatever it is. Okay. I am giving you video instructions now, so you don't need that. Um, all right, so you're going to upload your references here, and your article critique here. So let's see about how many references you should have. And these are two separate things. When you complete your article critique, the only reference you're going to have is a reference to the article that you critiqued. One thing, one reference in that paper. The references assignment is you're starting your research and you're going to start compiling a bunch of articles that you might want to use in your lit review. So let's talk about that assignment and let's see if there's a rubric or not. If not, I'll just tell you about it. So, of course, you know, they want it in APA format, your references. Okay, so there's no rubric for just uploading the references, and that's okay. Um, so let's see how many references for the lit review. So they want 12 articles, 12 references, and that would be like a minimum. So for this assignment, you're just going to put it in APA. It's only a reference page for the second part of what's due next week. Just 12 articles in APA format and alphabetical order, but not just any 12, you know, think about what you're going to need for the larger assignment. So you're going to research what the problem is. So you might be researching college students that have experienced the pandemic when they were younger, a few years ago, and now they have heightened anxiety. Okay. So you're going to research what studies have been done on that specific population already. Okay. What are their diagnoses, like generalized anxiety, or is there isolation, or is there were there hindrances in the socialization process because, you know, they were isolated during the pandemic? What's going on there? What kind of things would you expect to see as a result of that issue? Are, diagnoses, certain criteria or symptomology, what's already been looked at as far as the issue or problem. So you want a good outline of what the issue or problem is. You want to talk about studies that have already discussed that. Statistics need to be mentioned. What percentage of population have experienced this? What percentage of college students, And I'm just using this as an example. But some types of stats regarding, how many people experience this? Okay, so then the next type of research you're going to do is what's already been done to treat this population. And so you're going to look up different treatments for this population, and you're going to look at articles and see what's worked, what hasn't worked well. Maybe they did a study comparing two different treatments. One worked fairly well and one didn't, It's going to be easier to find treatments that worked or did help to a certain degree, at least a significant amount, versus ones that did not help, because nobody wants to publish things that did not work. I think it's pretty valid to figure out if something didn't work. That way somebody else won't waste their time using it. So I think it's really important both ways, but most journals want to publish things that do have some significant value for a population. So that's the second thing you're going to look up. What's been done? What seemed to help the population? What worked? What didn't work? And then you're going to kind of use your own creativity. What has not been tried yet? What hasn't been used yet that I'd like to incorporate? Maybe they haven't used mindfulness. And what does that look like? What kind of mindfulness? Maybe they haven't used they have like these outdoor programs or things like that. So what things would you like to use that haven't been tried yet with that population? And that's your creative part, The last thing is, I want you to take your creative idea, and even if they didn't use it, like with our example with college-age students who are suffering from anxiety and isolation as a result of the pandemic, maybe they used the theory that you want to apply in something else, like something similar, like another population that has experienced similar symptomology, like maybe generalized anxiety or major depression, or maybe the same age group, maybe college students that are experiencing something else, not the pandemic, but something else. So see if some other studies with not the same exact problem, but similar symptoms. Maybe they used your creative idea that you'd like to incorporate with some other population, and it did well. So that's kind of an outline of the different types of research you should include, the different types of articles that you should be looking for, the different parts of the lit review that you're going to be writing. So try to have a fairly comprehensive reference list. It's got to be a minimum of 12 journal articles. And these should be 12 journal articles that you've read. You don't have to write about them, but you should have at least read through them quickly, and you can go back and look at them more deeply when you're doing your lit review. But they should be something that you feel would be appropriate for your paper. And that's not to say you might not use it. You might find a different one that you want to use later. That's okay. This is not set in stone. It's not permanent. You can change anything you want. This is just to get you looking at research articles, because we just don't want you to wait. Because too many times in this course, students wait too long and then they miss the deadline. And it takes a lot of time to research. It takes a lot of time to read the articles, because you're not just going to read these 12 articles. You're probably going to read 50 articles, and you're going to find, 30 some that really don't look that great. They don't fit. They didn't find the results you wanted. You didn't like them. So you're going to read a lot of articles, and you're going to narrow it down to a dozen good ones. So, it's a pretty simple assignment. It's just a reference page with 12 references. But when we talk about it, we're really going to talk about, oh, okay, so this is your topic. This is your population. This is some of the things you found. Let's talk about the future of your lit review using these references. Is there some topic that's missing? Is there something that works really well? You like it? One type of article that I really like is called a meta-analysis. It looks at like so many other studies and puts the results all in one article for you. Then you can use their reference page. And, it's kind of like it's done a lot of research for you if you can find one on a topic that is close to your topic. Okay, so 2 things due next week: a simple 2-page content article critique and a 12 reference sheet. And hopefully those were decent explanations that you'll be able to understand what's expected. But you could always email me. We could always talk during office hours, whatever you need. So, all right, questions about references, or what you need to include on the reference page? Yeah, Taylor, just speak up. Go ahead.
Not a question about the references, but when you say like something's due next week, are you just is that just Sunday? Like next Sunday?
No, it's always next class.
Okay, so next Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I just
you
wasn't
have
sure like
1
is it
week to
later in
do
the
it. Yeah, you have a week
Okay.
from now, which is it's due for the next class. Because I'd like to look at some of them in class and talk about them.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah. What else?
Dr. Grafton, I also have a quick question about the reference assignment. So you said that we need 12 peer-reviewed articles, but if we're working in partners, you still want us each to do 12, or is it possible to split it up?
So that's a good question. So if you have a partner, so here's the difficult thing. You can split it up, but at some point, you've got to work together on it. You know what I mean? So you don't want 12 articles about the problem. You want a mixture of articles about all of those things I mentioned, you know, what's been done about it, what worked, what's some creative thing. So you might have 4 articles about the problem and the stats. You might have 4 articles about what's been done so far, 4 articles about something creative that you'd like to include. So it's a mixture of topics in those articles. So if you're working with a partner, you need to really divide, okay, what are you looking for? Are you looking for articles about the issue? Are you looking for articles about the treatment? Are you looking for articles about something creative we both want to add? You know? So, yes. And then in order for me to be able to give you full credit, even though both of your names are on the assignment, one assignment, 12 references, both your names on the same thing. So you both have to hand in the same article because, like, in order for me to give you a grade and your partner a grade, there's got to be something in both your discussion posts. Okay. Even if it's the same thing. Do you understand?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So both of you just hand in the same thing. Yep. Put both your names on the assignment. What else? That's a good question. All right. So the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to familiarize everybody with basically what this final project is going to look like. And so in week 1, I uploaded, it says research final paper outline. And that's exactly what it is. It's an outline for your final paper. This outline is so detailed that you can actually take this outline, save it with your name on it, and these outline sections become the sections of your paper. You can use them as titles for every section of your paper. Now you're going to add your topic, you're going to add your theories, that kind of stuff. But these are the main topics of your paper. And I don't even mind if you just take this outline and turn it into your paper. So a lot of it is very simple. And sometimes I like getting this simple stuff out of the way so that each week I just add to it, and eventually the outline's filled up. So, I would start and I would get a title page done and an abstract. And then as you're thinking about your references, you'll start thinking about the problem. It's a process. So as you're doing your references, you'll start seeing some connections in your research, and you'll start thinking about the problem and what people are experiencing, and as you look through the articles for your references, which one am I going to use? Which one am I not going to use? You'll see, oh, this one's got some good stats in it. This is, something I can use. You're already kind of filling in this outline in your mind, and you can take notes, from your articles. And sometimes I'll even take the notes and put the notes in the outline so that, oh, okay, this article had good stats, so that note would be under the problem, and then I'll just go to that article when I'm writing that section and I'll fill it in. So it's very methodic, the other thing is when you look at a whole outline like this, or you say, oh, this is a really big project, it can feel overwhelming. But we're doing it in very small steps so that it's not that overwhelming. Honestly, the most demanding assignment that you're going to have this whole semester in this class is the lit review. After you get done the lit review, that's over half your paper. And after that, it's what I think is more fun. Creating my own model, being creative. What am I going to do? What's it going to look like? You know, creating a graphical representation of my model. To me, that's creative and fun. That's the fun part of research. So I think it adds a lot of time the first half of the semester. But I would rather have you rewrite things around midterms than wait till the end and have most of the writing be due then and you be out of time to rewrite it, you know. So this gives you time to edit, time to write. We're even going to edit some of these together in class, in groups. And, you know, so I think that, and if you're only online, if you're asynchronous, you know, we can look at some things after class, during office hours, whatever, with some other students, if this isn't a good time for you. So, you know, we're going to be looking at a lot of this as a group process, you know. We're going to be giving each other ideas as we move through this project. But I think it's good that the majority of the writing is done around halfway through this class, because then you'll have time to edit, add sections, what's missing, fine-tune things, you know. And then at the end, you're going to have the finished paper with lit review and model, and you're going to have like a PowerPoint presentation, which is easy because it's already written in your paper. You're just going to talk about the different sections in a PowerPoint. My goal for you is you may have never thought about presenting at a conference. You may have never thought about going on to a doctorate or getting something published. That's okay. At least at the end of this class, you'll have some good information so that you can work with this population that you're studying. You'll know what you would like to do if you had a client who was suffering from whatever you're studying. So at least you'll be able to use what you've researched in your counseling. But beyond that, if you wanted to send it to a state conference, and I'm not talking like graduate level conference, I'm talking like a real conference like that doctors present at, you could do that. This should be good enough to present at a state conference. You'll already have a PowerPoint ready for that. All you have to do is get accepted and get there. A publication would be a little more difficult because it's a little different format than this paper. But it could be done. It could definitely be done. But at least you would have something for a state conference. So let's talk about, you know, if you wanted to go on in your education. So like I said, I went to Shippensburg University, which is just like Cal or Slippery Rock or IUP or, you know, Clarion or Edinburgh. They're all state schools. They're all equal. They're all very much alike. So Penn West, you know, very much like Shippensburg University. But if I wanted to go on to a very competitive doctoral program that was very selective, you know, lots of competition to get in, to get scholarships, things like that, most of the people applying have written a thesis so that they could submit it to a doctoral program, or they come from like a well-known national university. So I had to figure out how am I going to get noticed if I want to do that? You know, I know that my education at Shippensburg was just as good as any school out there. And I know your education here is just as good as any school out there, if not better. So, you know, we're CACREP, your professors have a lot of experience, and you know, I've compared our program that we designed to a lot of programs nationally. So I think the quality of the program is just as good, if not better. In fact, we got #1 program a number of times, both at a state level and nationally, top 10 nationally, from CACREP. So, you know, that's good. What you've learned is good. But how are you going to get noticed when a doctoral program says, okay, we're going to accept 10 people and there's 100 applicants? Everybody's handed in a thesis. Some of them come from big names, recognized names, things like that. The way to get noticed, if you want to do this, is to, #1, present at a state or national conference. That sets you apart automatically, because most graduate students only present at student conferences, like the honors fraternity, Chi Sigma Iota. A lot of them present there. A lot of them present at like university fairs, you know, where they'll have a state conference and they'll have presentations by grad students. But if you present at a speaker level, that will set you apart. The second thing that will almost guarantee admissions is a publication. So, you know, if this is something you want to do, you might want to consider those things. I know very small number really want to do that because this is a terminal degree. You're going to get an LPC. You can do almost anything you want. But just in case that's one of your dreams, you know, that's how to go about it. All right. So yeah, so this
Hey,
is, you
Crafton,
know,
I actually have a
yeah.
question about that.
Yeah.
Um, what are the main differences, like what would need to be changed for this paper to be published?
So it's really a writing style. So what I did, just in case you wanted to do that, I also uploaded in the first week 2 samples here. So there, you notice this is APA style of ethics and pastoral counseling. This is ethics and pastoral counseling of proof. So one is the way I wrote it. The other is a proof for either a chapter or a journal article. One of these is a chapter in a book. One of them is a journal article. And then the other one here, role of spirituality in counseling, role of spirituality proof. So this is an article. This is probably a book, because this says article. So if it says, you know, this is probably my APA style, and this is the proof that they sent me back from the publisher. So you can actually see what I wrote and then what they sent back to me. And so the book is a little different than the article. The chapter is a little different than the article style, but you can compare the writing style to Kayla's paper. So you've really got 3 different writing styles. You've got student paper that you're doing right now. That's a sample. You've got a book chapter, and then you've got an article, a journal article. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What else? Other questions? All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Then we're going to come back. I'm going to talk about some chapters in the book and see what else is going on. So come back at like 6:15.